we know for sure that you're going to ultimately come back to WCW, and you actually wind up getting in a match with Sting. It happens on November 29th on Nitro. It's going to be a number one contenders match with yourself, Sting, and Chris Benoit, as the write-up would go. Liz distracted Sting, and Luger hit Sting with a chair. Jarrett hit Benoit with a guitar. Dustin Rhodes then badly missed hitting Jarrett with the ring bell, but they figured why bother improvising, so Jarrett sold it anyway, and Benoit pinned him to win the match. Boy, when I read that,
Oh my gosh.
and I think you got Jeff Jarrett, Sting, and Chris Benoit, this is going to be a good match. And then I read, no, Sting, Liz is there, Luger's there, there's a chair, there's a guitar, Dustin Rhodes is there, there's a bell. We overthink this every now and again, do we not?
Well, this here, I was going to say, here we go into the WCW convoluted, trying to cover and protect everybody, which meant in hindsight, nobody was protected. We were all a part of that mess. It was just way too many Chiefs, not enough Indians, over and over and over.
The next time you're in the ring with him is on Thunder. There's a match with Sting against 3 Vianos. One of those, of course, is you in the Viano outfit.
Can you see me standing there at attention?
There's no doubt. Dave would write, however, in the production blunder of the year, they skipped that match and came back from commercial showing the replay of the finish where Jarrett hit Sting with a guitar and Page saved Sting. So Sting won the match to get to the U.S. tournament. Shortly after they showed the Sting match, with Russo at ringside in the Sting costume, Sting had to pin all 3. Sting pinned both of them. Jarrett crashed the guitar on Sting and unmasked. Page ran in and hit Jarrett with a diamond cutter, but Sting pinned him in 2 minutes and 28 seconds. This probably would have been a good angle, except for the production screw up. If you're confused listening to that, we were confused watching it. This sounds like a good idea on paper, but boy, if you just give away the finish right up front, kind of ruins the whole idea, right?
Oh, ridiculous. Live, it got over. Yes. I mean, to the live audience, they were like, that son of a, I mean, it was vintage Jeff Jarrett in a way. But man, we just talk about too many Chiefs and not enough Indians in the creative process, and me, Benoit, and Sting just kind of let us figure it out without all the trash. But how in the world does a posted show,
a taped show,
yes, a taped show that went back to Atlanta to be edited,
not live, live, we would have got it right, but we taped it and then we screwed our own edit up. And by the way, this isn't a wrestling company. This is by nature a television company. Can you imagine if they aired, all right, folks, we're going to air this football game on tape delay. Before the kickoff, let us go ahead and show you the overtime finish.
Well said.
What?
Yes.
I can't do that.
Exactly what happened.
Your first singles match, May 8th, 2000 in St. Louis. You're going to wrestle Sting 5 minutes and 34 seconds. Fans were looking in the wrong direction because they're expecting a big run in. I mean, everybody is waiting on a run in. And in reality, it doesn't happen. Vampiro comes out from under the ring and pulls Sting down underneath. Meltzer would say next was the collective groans, which came from a crowd that hates the finish, not in the way that draws money for the next show, but the way that tells them the next time they come to town, they're going to have to give away a lot more tickets. Sting came up from the hole all bloody and Jarrett pinned him. Man, I'm sure at this point you got to be like, all right, we had a 3-way dance where Liz and Luger and Dustin were interfering with weapons. Now you had me dress up like a luchador and you spoiled the finish. Can I just get a regular match with Sting on TV? Nope. Here comes a vampire from under the ring and he's going to drag him down underneath and come. You became less of a wrestler and more of a stuntman in a B television show here. It feels like.
Pal, and if you just watched the first 5 minutes, the whole match was what, 7 or 8? I mean, it wasn't long. Sting came with his work boots. I mean, I loved working with him. Sting, it was for a TV main event. That was at the TWA Dome when I think about that. but I mean, he came ready to go, and we, for the time allotted, we put on I thought, a hell of a match, and then get in, rinse and repeat, another convoluted, over storytelling set of circumstances that, again, it's in the TNA days, we battled the business structure of serving two masters. There was no balance, pay-per-view or television ratings. And in WCW during this era, it was completely sacrifice, I'll call it work rate, and go 100% character development, if you will, or story. And that goes back to the conversation we just had. Vince Sr. was a promoter. His son became a promoter. There's creatives. Vince Russo's a writer. So that's what his comfort zone was. And so he wrote stories. The matches became secondary. And this is a result, or one of the results.
Let's talk about when the match that everybody's been wanting to see for a while finally happens. It's your first pay-per-view match at Halloween Havoc, and it's you and Sting. And what a story it is, because you guys go 14 minutes and 38 seconds. But of course, like everything in this era, there's a backdrop of outside interference. First, it's a guy dressed up as Sting from 1989, who Dave Meltzer says was actually Robbie Rage of the former tag team High Voltage. Sting's going to pound him to the stage and drop him with a Scorpion Death Drop on the ramp. And then out came Sergeant Pepper Sting, which is Steve Armstrong of 1990. And Sting gives him the Scorpion Death Drop on the ramp. And then here comes Wolfpack Sting, which is actually Wildcat Chris Harris. Sting gets the bat away, destroys him, does the Scorpion Death Drop on the ramp. And Jarrett hits Sting with the bat and gets the advantage. Sting's making a comeback, gets the Scorpion on, when the current Sting came from under the ring to drag him down. Sting came out, and the latest fake Sting was bloody. Then the lights went out, and Sting came down from the ceiling. As Sting is beating on imposter number 5, his wig comes off, and he was badly balding. The joking on commentary, this is a 70-year-old Sting from the year 2025. Sting gives future Sting the Scorpion Death Drop through the table, puts Jarrett in the Scorpion again, and now the current fake bloody Sting broke it up with a guitar shot, and the real Sting barely sold it. Jarrett then hit Sting with a second guitar shot for the pin, and real Sting seemed to bleed the hard way from Jarrett's guitar shot. Half a star. Was this the Ghost of Christmas Past wrestling match? How about just Sting and Jeff Jarrett, I don't know, wrestle a freaking match?
So this was so disappointing at the time, because hearing it back is just as bad as it sounded originally, because it was just too much. Again, way too much story. So if we rewind, about a month, and when I, again, going through the research, and I thought about my career and my opponents through the years, Conrad, I've wrestled Sting in Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada, England, and Europe. I don't think I've had any one opponent that I've wrestled. I mean, I think I've wrestled Sting in Scotland, just in Germany, all over. The Australian reason I bring that up, the Australian TVs, is when I dressed up as Surfer Sting, and we went down that road of the historical perspective, if you will. And the people live, when I came out in Australia with the look that you're currently seeing on the YouTube link here, it got a huge babyface pop, and then they realized, oh, son of a bitch, that's Jeff. That got traction that night. Well, fast forward to Vegas and Halloween Havoc, as you just read, 5 or 6 versions of Sting. It was overkill. And again, just way, way, way too much character development within the match. It neutered it, because by the time we got to the finish, the people were like, yep, it's over. Thanks for the story. We saw that in Australia.
It's just crazy that they had so many of these opportunities. Your final match together in WCW is the Nitro from November of 2000 from the United Center. I know you're a big basketball fan, and we saw Dennis Rodman there last year, and what a cool moment that was. But as a basketball junkie yourself, wrestling in the house that Jordan built against Sting, pretty cool. It's going to be Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner taking on Sting and Buff Bagwell. Finish would see you hit Bagwell with a guitar. Steiner's using the recliner. Quote, the absolutely ridiculous thing is there's all this debris from the broken guitar all over the ring, not to mention the explosion of a guitar shot just a few feet from the ref, and somehow we're supposed to believe he doesn't know about it. I've never really talked to you about that, but I know that you and we both understand there is a natural built-in suspension of disbelief in wrestling. But the idea that we're going to blow a guitar into a million pieces and the ref's not going to hear it, and he's going to turn around and he's not going to see all the little pieces. Are you okay with that? Is that one of those that you're comfortable with? Or do you think, hey, we need to do a little more, but that just wasn't what everybody wanted at the time?
Well, another reason that I didn't like the WCW guitars, because they really did splinter into legitimately 30, 40 pieces. I mean, it was just, or maybe more at a time. The other guitar shots, they shatter, but I can't say there's a ton of debris. I like to, inside baseball, if I have the opportunity to kind of sweep out any of the big things. Yeah, I am a little bit of I try to be a little bit of a stickler where there's just not a boatload of evidence all the way where the referee's counting and he's actually worried about getting splinters in his hands. Yes, Conrad, I definitely have a problem with that, but sometimes you have to take the creative liberty. But I would prefer the guitar explode, but not in all those kind of pieces, and certainly not let it fall all over the mat where the referee have to count through it.